Hey, what's going on? It's Earl. Welcome. Today I'm gonna talk about sobriety a little bit. And I figure it's a good time because the day I plan to post this video, the 23rd, will be 4.5 years of continuous sobriety. And I figure I'm not looking for the attention, but maybe it might help someone. And I've actually never put anything on my social media about being sober. Like I don't post milestones on there and anything like that. My friends and family, the closest ones to me, know what's going on in my life, and they know. And it's not like I don't want to share it. I just kind of keep it here. But I've finally come to that point that maybe this I could do some good somewhere, right? With sharing a little bit of my story, and because it's definitely come a long way from in 4.5 years, and what I'm going to do here is, is sobriety worth it, right? Because it takes a little work to stay sober, but I feel like it gets easier the longer, as far as the thinking of things, right, goes, the longer I get into it. So let's rewind to about 6 years ago, right? So 6 years ago, I was I just like finalized my first divorce, a divorce for my first marriage, right? So I was on my own, and I was lonely. And I didn't know how to get rid of that loneliness, and it was one of those things that's kind of spiraled my addiction and alcohol out of control, right? And uh, I, I didn't know how to handle it that when it happened, right? So what I did, like with any smart person would do, and I just bottled it all down. What feelings, emotions? Let's get rid of those, right? I don't want to have to think about this. And it wasn't good, right? And it was every day was basically a rinse and repeat cycle, vicious cycle, and it got exhausting. And the reason I bring up that part of my life is because in under 2 weeks now, I'm actually getting married again. And I met someone who I definitely would not have meet if I had been still in my addictions and drinking and all that stuff. So my life has changed quite a bit there, right? So that's one part of the things that are definitely worth it. Because when I was drinking and doing other things, uh, I don't think I was very marketable, to women or anyone I wanted to be with. But like I said, it's not easy. So some of the other things that I've noticed, one of the first things um, in sobriety is I realized like food tasted better. All right, like I had just been eating for a while just to eat. All right, and nowadays, like I'll go out to eat in a restaurant, and my favorite thing is like the dessert menu. I'm like, all right, what am I gonna go? I'll check it out sometimes before I even go to a restaurant. Like, what do they have for dessert? And ice cream is like my go-to treat nowadays. I forgot during all those years how much I loved ice cream because I didn't really drink it too much. So, or eat it too much when I was drinking, I should say. And there's a lot of celebrities that are in sobriety. Like, this is the part where I'm like, I don't know if I should share about it or talk about it too much and make it public and things. But there's a lot of celebrities who have actually influenced me and helped me, at least far as far as sobriety goes. Like Anthony Hopkins, that guy's been sober for a long time. Bradley Cooper's sober. And one of the cool ones I think is Robert Downey Jr. Right? Iron Man. He was in jail and he kind of rebounded his life and he did pretty well after getting sober, right? And they'll say it. I'm sure it's not easy. So here's a funny thing I was thinking about, right? So it's not. It's funny because it's not always easy, right? It's definitely not easy to stay sober, but early on it's tougher, right? So, and here's an example I was going to say. Like yesterday, we were going to a party, my fiance and I. It was actually a kids' party, right? And we're driving there. It was a place where we both kind of worked around, used to work in the past, and she like knew where every Starbucks was. Like she's like, "There's a Starbucks here, here, here," and I'm thinking like, and I say to her like, "Yeah, like I knew like where every liquor store was when I was drinking, right?" And the funny thing is, there's probably a few more liquor stores than Starbucks, but there are a lot of Starbucks. But my point I was going to make is like early in sobriety, I realized how many actually liquor stores there really are. They're like all over the place. You can't go shopping anywhere without them. So like, when you're trying to avoid something, it's just right there in your face. And it's one of the things that it's very advertised. So it's tough to get away from. But now the point where I'm at now, I don't even really think about it. what I'm more concerned about is like the good times. Like when something really good happens, that's kind of what I'm like, oh man, a celebration drink would be good, which leads to other things, right? But yeah, the mental part of things, I'm not. It doesn't really bother me anymore, right? And which is good. And like I say, it doesn't happen overnight, but it gets there. It gets better. It really does. And I'm definitely a lot happier nowadays. There's a lot more. I realize there's a lot more I can get done in the day. I generally, I used to have like need medicine to stay happy, like antidepressants and everything. And after a few months of not drinking and doing anything else, I didn't need those anymore. And I generally stay pretty happy. And one of the things it's on my iPad here or my tablet. There's a saying here that's really true, right? Because the way my life has changed right now, um, you know, I'm marrying a girl who's got two young kids who are almost 8 and 6, right? So, for instance, tonight I made dinner for everybody, and then I helped the second grader with her math homework, right? And those are the little things in sobriety I didn't realize that was going to happen. Like, I'm not just thinking about me all the time. Like, hey, look, I can maybe help her out a little bit, right? And it was fun. It was cool to do, right? And then I'm still able to make a video. Now, to you normal people who can drink normally, that's just a normal day for you. But when you got an addiction, all these things, they don't come easy, right? And because you mess up, right? And there's this quote I wanted to read that says, it goes, addiction is giving up everything for one thing. Recovery is giving up one thing for everything. Right? And that's a really good saying. However, it's the recovery part, it may not just be one thing for me. It might have been a couple of things that I quit, but it's so true. You give up so much. Or I gave up so much just for that high, right? Or whatever it might have been. That was giving up everything for that. And now, just by giving up the alcohol and drugs, it's like I got so much more in my life, and it's pretty amazing. So I just really wanted to put this out there and see where this goes for anyone who may be sitting on something that they need to get off. That having a tough time, right? Because I've been there, and I know it's tough to get out of. Like and there's a lot of ways to get help now, right? Too, but it is tough. It's so hard to get that first step. So yeah, to anyone who's still listening here, if you're dealing with anything tough and want to comment and you know need some suggestions possibly or anything, I could do my best for that. Or but knowing that you're not alone, really, and we're coming to the tough time of year too. For me, it's always the tougher time, the darker days, the shorter days of the year. The holidays can be tough, and well, let me know what you guys think about this. If anyone especially if you're in recovery or having a tough time, I'd love to hear from you. And if you like this, if you like to see more of something like this, or share some other stories I may have, or like some tips that help me, and there's lots of different ways. I'm not saying I have them all, right? But it's worth a shot. Or anyway, well, I hope everyone has a good one, and thanks for listening. Yeah, I really think that was all I was going to say. There's a lot more to things. Like, this is not all that's good gone for me, but that's all I'm going to share for now. Yeah, peace.